Alright, here is my review on the LST XXL 2E. This truck came out a couple months ago. It's not really a new truck, it's going over the same chassis as the regular XXL or the LSTs, but this is the first time they've ever released it in electric version. Comes out brushless, and I think you can pick it up for around $650 if I remember correctly. I'm going to go over some good things, some bad things, some things to think about when buying the kit. It's a pretty expensive kit, but for an RTR, it comes out pretty good quality. I'm going to go over the bad things first, and first thing I'm going to talk about is the slipper nut. I had this thing back off on me probably 5 times. It just keeps loosening up. I'm still looking for a fix on it. I've tried Loctiting it. People tell me to put a second nut on there. I think I'm going to try that next. Other things to talk about. The diffs. The diffs are very strong, but they have pins in there that are not. Pins to the outdrives are pretty much trash. I've busted about 5 of them. And as you can see, one of my diffs is all apart right now. And of course, it's the pin. I've had them apart, oh god, I don't know, 5 or 6 times. Just to replace that little pin, I've tried making my own. I used drill bits, and actually that worked out pretty well, but the rear diff here I didn't do that on yet. So what I've done is I've actually ordered an HPI pin, which is supposed to be a lot better than these Losi pins from what I hear on the forums. So I'm going to try those and see how they work out, but as of right now, these Losi ones, they just break left and right. Another thing that's on the negative is the ESC. It says right on the side of it it's 90 amp max. This thing is kind of small for this vehicle. It actually doesn't get as hot as I thought it was going to. The motor actually gets hotter than the ESC does, the way it's geared. The motor gets up around 160, 170 on 6S. The ESC is usually around 130, and I think my batteries are around 110 to 115. And actually, the batteries that I'm using aren't that high of a discharge. I think they're only 25C, which is really right around the bare minimum you should be using on this, depending on the MAH rating. But another issue I've had is the turnbuckles. I've snapped a couple of them jumping off. Big bad crashes, you know, but usually you won't have an issue unless you're an idiot like me and just fucking jump 20 feet in the air and come down on one wheel. But what I did is I actually put some on there from the E-Revo, the upgraded ones, and they've been working out pretty well so far. Another issue I've had with it is the wheelie bar. Everybody has this issue. The wheelie bar just comes off. I mean, it's got 2 bolts holding it on, and after you plant it on the back end so many times, it just eats through that plastic, and it's really not that great. The wheelie bar itself, the way it works is really well, but with it being plastic, and it just rips off. So I've been running without a wheelie bar for a while, and one of the things to think about is you don't have a rear bumper on there from the factory, so you got to go and buy a rear bumper, which I haven't done yet. Another thing, Loctite everything. I lost a grub screw in the drivetrain, like the first run. And I had to go to the hobby shop to finish my first run because you're not going to find a grub screw. The last thing, I've already said it, the price. It's up there. It's $650. But, I mean, a bunch of RTRs are getting to that point. If you look like the E-Revo, that's about $700. And this actually has an 8-scale drivetrain, whereas the E-Revo does not. So, something to think about. You're spending a lot of money, but you're getting the quality for it. Now, on to the good stuff. It's got a 2200 kV motor. Like I said, it's getting kind of hot, but it's really not that bad of a motor. The thing's fast. It's real fast. For this size, I believe it does all of 60 miles an hour out of the box, and it is uncontrollable at those speeds. The shocks are huge. They're great. They soak up landings phenomenally. They are very smooth. I've got all kinds of other RTR kits, and nothing compares to this on the shocks. They're just very smooth action, soak up everything. Great for anything from construction bashing to huge jumps to really rough terrain, just whatever you got, it'll take it. The truck comes with a Spectrum receiver, and that has ABC on it. Hang on a sec, I'll grab that receiver. So this is what you get out of the box. Just the DX2E, pretty standard, but that's your knob for your ABC. The first couple of runs, I did not use the active vehicle control, and this thing's just all over the place without it. I mean, you've got to have trigger control, even with the ABC on. But with it off, get out of here. If you're one of those just mashers and just every chance you get, absolutely full throttle. I mean, I'm kind of like that, but I've learned a little bit of control. You're not going to have a good time, especially when you're over the 30-mile-an-hour range. With ABC on, it's still a little hard to control, but it is night and day difference. Mainly where I see the night and day difference is top speed runs and approaching ramps. It makes it so much easier to hit a ramp if you aren't hitting something that wide. One of the other things to think about is this thing comes with quality parts. I cannot say that enough. Quality, quality, quality. I go through here, none of the drivetrain is plastic, all of it's steel. The axles, the diffs have mainly steel in them. Like I said, the only issue with the diffs is those pins, and hopefully that $5 HPI pins will solve that issue. Now this thing comes with 2 pinions. So they gear it down a little bit for 6S so that your temps aren't that bad. The only time I'm spiking 160 on the motor is if I'm off-road doing speed runs or something stupid like that. And you know you're going to get hot doing that. Just average running, I think I'm around 150 on the motor. Now, this thing does have interchangeable parts, obviously, because all of the other LSTs are the same platform. So if you have an LST, you've already got all the parts for this LST. Another positive is it already comes equipped with sway bars, so it handles pretty well for a monster truck. This thing's not too bad. Doesn't flip over as much as some of the more monster trucky vehicles, kind of like the Savage and the E-Max and that stuff. Those flip over a lot easier than this does. And also all the electronics are waterproof. That's a great thing to remember. Waterproof, always a plus. Now, on the kind of hit and miss things, the tires, I love them, but I hate them. They are great traction off-road. I love the way they handle off-road, but at the same time, at top speed, they balloon like crazy. This thing's all over the road after about 40 or 50 miles an hour. It's hard to control up there. And the other thing to think about with these is they come with 20mm hubs, so a lot of stuff's not interchangeable. You can do a 17mm conversion. I personally haven't done it yet because I do like the way these handle, and I'm not doing a ton of top speed runs with it. But if you are going to be doing a lot of top speed runs, or you just want to use different tires, you're going to have to do a 17mm conversion. Another thing with the tires, I don't know if you can see it from here, but there are 6 bolts around there, so every time you go to take a tire off, you got to take 6 Allens out before you can even take your wheel off. That's kind of a pain when you're figuring on that. Another thing that's love or hate is the battery tray. It's got a step in the middle of it, so arranging batteries, you have to have them up on the side if you're using dual batteries. And then a single battery, if you're getting too big, it's going to be at an angle. I do like how they have 4 straps, but at the same time, I hate how they have 4 straps. It's a pain to strap the batteries down and take them out, but they are going absolutely nowhere. And the last thing I'm going to touch on is the servos. For an RTR, I don't think they're that bad. It turns better than a lot of vehicles I've got from an RTR standpoint. It's nothing like you're going to get out there and have some high-techs in it or anything. I mean, it doesn't even compare to that, but for an RTR being this big of a truck, it does pretty dang well. Alright, and I think that's everything that I wanted to touch on, but if you guys have any questions, just throw them into the comments. I'll be glad to answer them. As soon as I get my pins in, I'll have this thing back up and running so you can see me beat the crap out of it some more. So far, this thing's been a blast, and I'd purchase it every day of the week. Thanks for watching.